All right. And then the third character that we saw yesterday, Akira, whatever we're gonna call her. I'm not gonna Luke.
Akira,
Yeah. What
yeah.
are your thoughts on her?
She's mostly a rushdown character. She is gonna want to stay at kind of mid ranges, and then get in when she spots an opening and try to stay there. A little bit of a Cammy kind of Yun type of situation. Although she's meant to be played up close, Capcom said she actually has some long distance moves to keep the opponent off guard as well. I think they're specifically talking about the Kiko Kai there, her V skill one. She's a smaller character. Like she's even like like we said like she's about a head shorter than Ryu, so her hitboxes and hurtboxes are likely going to represent that as well.
I don't
So
like
she's going to
that.
be I think on the stubbier side with her punches, but her kicks actually look to have good range. And then like when you're trying to hit her, she's going to be a lot like Karen or Ibuki because they're just small. Like it's not like hitting Zangief for Sagat. Like they're tiny characters, so you got to make sure your movement and all that kind of stuff is lining up with it. But Kicks got good range. Yeah, she's interesting. It's I like that she's a rushdown character. Like it's nice to have one in this kind of season of a lot of mid range zoners and other stuff. And she looks like she's got some compelling stuff. But how do you feel?
She's a glass cannon, as far as I can tell. And some of the things that they pointed out directly, like they even stated directly, it wasn't even just that they showed it, but they stated it, is that she's very quick on her feet. So she's got good walk speed, which is a very important tool. She
Yep.
is, like you said, rush down and she does big damage. They noted that too. She's capable of big damage. And then they said she's relatively easy to play. So she might fall into that DLC's kind of top tier to begin with to get people going, which is good. But as a
Yeah.
competitor, I'm like, oh, this might be a little scary. And of what we've seen so far of these three new characters, I'm the most afraid of Akira. And
Hmm.
now walk speed isn't everything, right? Because Vega has the fastest walk speed in the game, and he struggled to be maybe mid tier his entire Street Fighter V life. But when you pair walk speed with the potential for big damage, and it's easy to do, well, you've got the likes of, who are other characters with pretty fast walk speed? You got Akuma,
Karen.
you've got
Yeah.
Karen, you've got Cammy, and I would say you've got Lucia. She's got really good walk speed, as we talked about a few weeks ago. Now, she's a little more technical, so it's harder to realize how powerful she is, to realize her potential. But that's not a problem for Akira, who's relatively easy to play. So you're making this rushdown character fast on her feet, hit you hard. Those are the makings of some top tier stuff. And then you factor in the ability to get close. Like that might be her main issue, but she's got that when she uses her V skill to power it up, I believe. When she does the air version where she creates basically like the laser and comes straight down, it changes her trajectory. It looks a lot like Chun's air lightning legs from season 1. You guys remember that nightmare?
Hmm.
That was like the move in season 1. So not only is it going to like change trajectory, so maybe it gets you to whiff a DP, they note it makes anti-airs. It's like it thwarts anti-airs. So right there, even if she doesn't have anything really great to get close with, or fast besides her walk speed, which is sometimes all you need in order to play footsies and maneuver yourself in, she can also go to the air with this sort of gimmick where she puts this wall of hitbox in front of her and then cuts and goes straight down. That is kind of scary to me paired with everything else because I think once she gets in on you, it's going to be really hard. She's going to hit you
Yeah.
hard, she's going to carry you to the corner, and then who knows what other kind of potential she has once people start figuring out what she can do with like V triggers and such. But the fact that she has a gimmick paired with all the other stuff that I said, I think she's going to be the best of the characters that we've seen yesterday, and she might be a top tier. Too early to really tell how she's going to play with all the rest of the cast, but I am wary of this character.
It's a really good call with what we've seen in the meta. When all those elements you mentioned, those are usually top tier elements in this game, and that's oftentimes like characters in a vacuum. They might be good at whatever things and stuff like that, but it's oftentimes that the top tier characters are good at the specific meta of a fighting game. Where if like the game's based around these three core facets or whatever, and those characters are good at those three things, they're often top tier.
Hmm.
There are exceptions, but that's a big thing, right? So I like your read there. I think it's very good. And one of the interesting things that Akira has is that the Kiko Kai has an EX version. And that's the first EXV skill I've heard of. Now, when she does it from full screen, that's one of her big attacks that she has. It will blow through projectiles and do a wall bounce. And I'm like, how do you do an EXV skill? Like,
Well,
how does
isn't
that?
isn't the V skill where she sort of powers it up, and if she's like, it's like a store where if she does it, then when she does the move, it's got like an enhanced version to it.
Maybe that's it.
And then if
It's
she does
I
the EX powered up version, it wall bounces and she can get a further combo, something like that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, we don't have an explanation of the moves, and maybe there's a way to spin meter on a V skill now, and and it would be an interesting mechanic to add into the game at this point because no one else has it. Maybe that's but this is at the point of the game, and the developers said they're going to experiment with stuff. They're going to try some new things they never have before, and kind of see how it goes because it's a smart way to do it. Like let's see what they're doing. So yeah, maybe exactly what you said. You just have to charge it up, and you're good. Maybe it's something else. I don't know. But it's fascinating because she glows like fully like she's doing an EX move and
Yeah,
spinning meter on it. Like,
yeah.
so that's the interesting. And usually when that happens, you're spinning meter in this game. So that's why I was kind of curious of. I can't think of anything that gets souped up and has that yellow glow to it unless you spin meter.
Right, and I do think she spends meter, but I'm at this point. I think the way it works is if she has that move that's not her V skill. Like her doing that is like it's like a kind of palm. It's like Yun's palm. By the way, a lot of her moves look
Hmm.
like Yun's moves. She does the
Yes.
same fighting style, but I don't think she's gonna function exactly like him. Like I don't know that you would draw other comparisons to their fighting styles, except for that they look very similar because they're similar looking moves. But anyways, she would have like this palm attack, and maybe that's like an input in by itself. But then if she uses the V skill, she powers that up, and then when she does it after the V skill, it's a stronger version. And if she does the V skill power up and that and it also has an EX version. So if she does EX when the V skill is stored, that's what you're seeing with the wall bounce. Because I think in
Okay.
order to do that, the air one where she comes down with that like wall of laser fire in front of her, I think she has to be powered up beforehand and then do the air version. The air version
That makes sense.
becomes that. So it might not be that she can just do that outright, which great. I don't want that because it's just that sounds really powerful, especially paired with the rest of her kit. But man, she might not even need that to get close to you. Maybe she can just dance around and whiff punish and such. And man, a lot of her moves, especially like heavy moves, look really fast, like for heavy moves. So yeah, she's the one that's scary. And then we haven't even talked about like she's got an Armika-esque V trigger where her brother Daigo comes in and does the initial splash, and then he flexes and gets a bunch of firepower that goes around him. And even if you're hitting her when he does that second point, he's gonna hit you. So that's gonna change for that sequence for that animation part. Moment. It's going to change how you have to play against her. And she's got air combos with V skill 2 that's specific for where she comes from, which is the rival schools universe where they'd have a lot more air combos similar to what you might see in like a Marvel versus Capcom. She's got those, but it's definitely going to be something that's relatively new for the game. So something fresh, relatively easy to play, attractive for newcomers, and it sounds like she's got the tools that a high tier has. So look out for
Yeah.
Akira.
Yeah, speaking of her V trigger with where she summons her brother Daigo, it's the second attack doesn't look overly hard to avoid. There's a good delay between the first attack and the second one. Like if he hits you with the splash, I think you're in a crumple state, like where the second one will also hit as well. But if you block it, he stands there for a good amount of time, and you can hit Akira and knock her back, and then he can combo break you.
Hmm.
Which is pretty cool. So it's like I want to see some combo breaker moments there, which are going to be fun to especially when people are first playing Akira, like you're going to see that a lot where it's like, oh, okay, because it's a new mechanic, it's a new thing we're not used to yet,
Hmm.
right? And then at higher levels, like I'm not as big on this one as I am her other V trigger. I think is going to be better, but I think for some players and some styles this will work really well. Because that second attack, it's like just V skill or push Akira away so that you're nowhere near Daigo, and he has no chance to put you in hit or block stun, right? And it's I think that a lot of your stuff is going to be setups with her brother, like to make it work and stuff. I don't think you're just going to be able to like hit a button or hit the V trigger and just have him come out and like have it always work out in your favor. I think you're going to have to do very specific setups to kind of keep the other person locked in there, and make that really effective. And
Yeah.
so I really think that a lot of the pro level Akira players are going to go through other V trigger that's more consistent damage, but we'll see.
I agree because yeah, well, all that you said, it makes me think of Seth's V trigger too, especially as it exists now, where it has that final explosion. So like, if you V reversal out of it, or if he just has it and he's not using it directly, but it's there and it's present, it just limits what you can do. And if you go to hit him where you normally could hit him, it doesn't work out because that's there and it interrupts you, and then he gets like a full jump in combo. Or if you V reversal, it hits you and he's able to wake up and jump at you and stuff. And so it'll be like kind of a gimmick, but if you've labbed those situations, you know when and where to like kind of manipulate it. Her other one where she goes to do a stance, which is she looks very similar to Ganasian, but it doesn't really function the same way as far as I can
Yeah.
tell. It looks like you have a lot more autonomy of what happens there, and it's not so dependent on your opponent not really fielding it right. It's just like they have to guess if you're going high or low, or you know, stopping to grab them or stuff like that. But a lot more of your own, like I say, autonomy in it. So that will probably be the better one. But we'll see some gimmicks, and we will have some frustrated loss of those